Atheist Nomads, episode 172, Fuck the Election.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
We are the Atheist Nomads, bringing you history, science, politics, religion, and interviews with leaders in the atheist community. Not all those who wander are lost. Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin. Joining me as always is Wesley.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, all right.
Joining us is my lovely wife, Lauren.
Yay!
Yay.
And we have a special guest today, Wayne, an Oregon native and high school classmate of mine from Milo Adventist Academy back in our good little Advent boy days. Current DC resident, Capitol Hill staffer, and he is moving to the Bay Area next month. And he's joining us to give only his opinion on Tuesday's results. He is not speaking on behalf of his boss or any other form of employers or the government. He is, in this case, just a citizen. So, Wayne, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be on.
Welcome.
First time, long time.
So, Wayne, I understand you're going to speak on behalf of all federal employees now. So yes, I appreciate that.
I am acting as a representative of all federal employees.
You need to sound more morose.
Yeah.
Except for me. I'll represent myself.
Yeah, Wesley works at the shipyard in Bremerton.
Yeah. Not that you would know what that is, but yeah.
Well, he knows now. He'll win that question at trivia.
Wayne's from the Northwest. He should know Bremerton.
Maybe.
Right, Wayne?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Plead the fifth.
It's all good.
Okay.
I will now.
Nobody stops. It's good.
The Northwest Naval Shipyard. Okay.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on. Okay, so yes, as we all know, the election happened and the results were terrible. I know many of you are hoping for angry rants, and yes, you will get them. But first, we need to get some actual proper expert opinion on it. So, Wayne,
what's your opinion?
What the hell happened yesterday?
I mean, I think part of the fascinating part of it, and I use fascinating just because I don't want to use like sad and depressing, is that even I don't think people necessarily are going to agree what happened. I mean, we all have our set of facts, but as to why they happened, I think you're going to have people arguing about it. I mean, I'm sure, depending on who you are and who your friends are, I'm sure your Facebook feeds have very different reactions, and some people are going to be like, man, this is really sticking it to the man, and we sent a message to the elites, and we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. And then if you're like my feed, you're like, Western civilization is ending. I'm so sad. What do I tell my children?
Lots of drinking.
But like, how could we elect this misogynist, sexist, rapist, racist person to dog catcher, let alone president?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was talking to my wife about it, and I think what will be interesting is how you react to it is what you saw as the point of his campaign, which arguably was more fact-free and just emotionally excessive. And so when you think of, like, when I personally think about what happened, I'm like, oh, wow, he said a lot of horrible things I don't agree with, and he made a lot of promises and had a lot of hyperbole, talking about social issues and immigration and the country's direction, and you see the highlight of the polarization and the alt-right, whatever that means, and
neo-Nazi.
Kind of and a nationalism. If that's what I see, so that's what I'm expecting. I'm like, oh man, it's going to be real interesting when the stormtroopers kick down doors and start rounding up.
This is how Hitler started.
Yeah.
Well,
but at the same time, I'm sure there's other people who just follow different sources and just saw it as I'm tired of the same thing over and over. I think there was some percentage of people, unfortunately, I didn't write it down, who voted for President Obama twice and then voted for Trump. And for someone like me, who's very much like a partisan on issues and parties, that just blows my mind, because for me, they represent two ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
But if you're approaching it from everything's corrupt, I hate the status quo, which was very much kind of a theme in 2008, change and hope and all that. This was definitely, again, everyone's like, screw it, let's go with change again. And some people see it as hope. So I was shocked at how conciliatory his President-elect Trump's statement was. But then again, I have the enormous benefit of, I felt sick today, but I don't, nothing is going to happen to me because I have the wonderful status of straight white guy in this country, which isn't going to change much. But I worry about people who've been demonized all throughout the election. Just the day before on Monday, I read a clip about how Trump was in Minnesota, which has a large Ethiopian Muslim population. He was just kind of doing his thing where he says, "Oh, you guys have been abused enough," and this, that, and the other, and then turn around. And I think with most things, we've seen over the past 8 years how much power a president can have within an obstructionist Congress. Obviously, with Republicans controlling all the House and Senate and the presidency, they won't quite have that. But
and the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Which I guess they'll, since the voters chose how they liked, they'll actually appoint a guy this time. But I think actually, the larger,
if you look at what they were saying most recently, I think it was McCain was saying that they would only approve nominees from a Republican.
Yeah, which is always
silly because
ironic to me for people. Which amuses me for people who claim to be strict constitutionalists.
Yeah,
I don't know where they got that, but with everything, we'll see how that works. But I think apart from politics, I worry about how this will enable people who have traditionally and rightfully so been in the fringes, how they feel empowered to go out. And you saw this in England with after Brexit and its harsh anti-immigration, anti-other lashing out. Afterwards, people took it upon themselves. Assaults against minorities and people that could be perceived as other increase, and I think we're going to see that. I mean, I think unfortunately the tone and tenor of people has already been like that.
And it's not just here in England. If you look at France, Greece, and a handful of other European countries, when their white nationalist parties do well in the elections, people get physically hurt.
Yeah, because people see it as overt.
They're justified.
Yeah, it's like permission.
Yeah. Their beliefs are justified. And that's one of the things that is
Trump is coming out and normalizing this stuff.
Yeah.
His speech, his rhetoric is making it so that people feel like they can be racist assholes and xenophobic people and sexist dicks and just get away with it because, oh, hey, our president-elect does it. Why can't I? South Philly just got a building spray painted and tagged with pro-Trump and Nazi symbols last night or the night before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, David Duke from KKK fame is thrilled that Trump won The de facto head of the alt-right movement on Twitter, at least, is also thrilled, and culture is thrilled. There's a lot of really shitty people that are really happy right now.
Yeah. Well, I think an unfortunate part, once again, I'm clearly partisan and biased, but I think at the same time, I don't think we can necessarily dump it all on Republicans, because when Trump spoke about building a wall and halting Muslim or religious tests for immigration, that had appeal apart from people. It wasn't just Republicans. Democrats were fans of it, which is depressing in and of itself. And I think that kind of reflected in these what we have been for the past 8 to 12 years seen as blue states in the Rust Belt. And I think a lot of that is a lot of reactionary results of that, because when people are stressed and frightened, and I mean, there's obviously real hurt economically and otherwise in this country, I think people are going to inherently turn to blame the other.
Well, and in the Rust Belt in particular, they blame, at least this year, they were blaming the Clintons for NAFTA, for them losing their jobs.
And
and don't forget about the TPP coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what I am wondering is going to happen is when there's a fair amount of promises, and I think once again, ironically, when the nominee from a party that is traditionally small government is one of their talking points, I don't know how a small government makes business bring back jobs and forces and businesses to do much of anything. I'm not sure how that's going to be
interesting to see how they do that.
You don't have to wait and see. I mean, Brownback has been doing this in Kansas for the last 8 years, I believe. 8 years. Yeah. And his trickle-down economics is just pathetic.
Right.
The state is crumbling.
The experiment has already happened. People just refuse to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Well, we've been living with it in Idaho for the last, Butch Otter's at 10 years now?
Yeah.
And we're just now kind of out of the recession.
Kind of.
We're at least doing better than Kansas.
Still got the lowest wages, but...
Yeah. And so what is going to happen when it doesn't get fixed? And what's his timeline for promising things get fixed? And I think this is a continuation of a shift in economics that's been happening since probably the 80s, if not before. I mean, anytime you have a tech boom and you do open up a globalization kind of market like we have, and you can't put that back in the box, but at the same time, the hope would be that you create a safety net provided by the government, funded through taxes and on people who are winning from this, that there would be a way to help people. But
screw it. I say you should just invest in spices. I hear that's a good one.
Well, herbs and spices. Herbs were pretty popular.
Herbs did very well.
Hey, yeah, we have the Emerald Coast now.
That's right.
There you go.
Is it smog or is it some other kind of haze?
God. Dustin and I are in Idaho, and we're just like, you know what? Just let the state burn. Let's get out of here. You can just screw it.
Hey, at least the person we wanted for the state Supreme Court won. Not the douchebag state senator.
Did you see how close it was?
Yeah, it was close, but she won.
Shouldn't have even...
A win's a win.
Yeah.
And of course...
I don't see it in the notes. I was going to just cheer because Arpaio is out. Joe Arpaio.
Oh, yeah. That's. I mean, this is when people talk about a change election, you can say that and that can be the message, but I think there was only a change at the top. Incumbents won bigly, if that's now the new catchphrase.
God.
Totally.
Bigly and
Disaster.
I mean, where did I... I think 2 incumbents have lost so far: Illinois and New Hampshire. And New Hampshire was just a couple hours ago. And then in the House, I think there was only a turnover of 11 seats total. Because if purely by numbers, Dems did better. We picked up 2 seats. Mm-hmm. Everything else stayed the same, and they picked up 7 total seats in the House. I think the problem was, to use a biblical phrase, pride goeth before the fall, and everyone was like, "We're going to flip the Senate," and everyone got high on their own gas, and we're like, "Oh, we're going to get double digits in the House," but it didn't work. But
that's what all the polls showed. But one of the things I've seen showing up recently is that people must have been afraid to admit they were voting for Trump in the polls.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't cool.
Well, I think another theory I heard discussed was, if you've been building this idea and momentum of a corrupt system, including a corrupt media, which is just part of a globally Dem machine, why are you going to respond to them when they call you? Why do you want to talk to the enemy? So
yeah, I
think that could also count for it. And then also, I think voter turnout was down in general. I mean, we're a nation of about 300 million people, and maybe a little over 100 million showed up to vote. This is from someone had posted this on Twitter about turnout, just kind of a comparison over the last couple cycles. In 2004, there was 122 million people. In 2008, 131. In 2012, 129. And then I think this year it's only down.
The highest.
Yeah, and then this year it's down to 125.
Yeah.
Ooh, but that brings me to another pet peeve that I would like to encourage your readers. I saw this one of my friends posted on Facebook.
We have listeners, not readers, but we'll let that slide.
I'm assuming your listeners are also readers. They read books.
I read a book.
And then also on ESPN, and everyone's like, "Oh, we have an election every 4 years." Nah, brah, we have an election every 2 years.
Yeah.
you need to give a damn about some off year voting.
Actually,
you need
at
to get your shit together for midterms.
At least here in Boise, we have elections about every 3 months.
Seems like it.
And you usually hear about them 2 days after it happened.
Yeah.
Because we have
29 people voted.
We have all kinds of special district elections that are just happening all the time. All of our local city elections are on the odd numbered years. All the state level ones and county are even number years. So yeah, here we always have a reason to vote. Yeah,
and I just think people kind of zone out, and that's and that usually does not help. The more
if we had some kind of holiday that required a lot of drinking, people would be way more into it.
Yeah.
Well, instead, we have a bunch of states that don't allow you to get hard alcohol on election day. I actually heard that is the case here in Idaho. I haven't been to a bar on election day, but apparently they had curtains covering the liquor wall. And
you can't see it.
Once the polls closed, which they extended the polls to 9, they had to wait until all the polls were closed, and then they could open it up.
Say fuck it. Let people get drunk.
And Utah, you can't even sell alcohol of any kind on election day.
Oh goodness.
So you have to buy your beer the day before.
Yeah, well, they think rape victims are at fault, too, so they're a little backwards.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, holiday would be good. Moving it to a Saturday would be good.
Yeah.
Maybe
you can't. Some people hold Saturday as a Sabbath.
Okay, make it a 2-week voting window. Extend the early voting.
Mm.
Well, in some places that kind of. I think the best of both worlds would be early voting and then in-person voting, give us a long weekend so we can get that Friday off, and also and then weekends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and this is the cynical part of me, the system isn't an accident. It's set up how it's set up.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at a lot of the voter laws that have been set up, and they're definitely meant to restrict turnout for people who they don't traditionally want to show up.
Yeah, refusing to open up new polling places in areas that needed them, reducing the number of
not even
places.
not even that, but closing hundreds of them.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how long it took you guys to vote, but I was in and out in like 10 minutes after work, and I just had a long wait because the people in front of me clearly had never used a computer before, so they were just staring at the screen. But if you look at, I don't know what job you can have where you can just stand in line for 3 hours to vote. That's a type of voter suppression. That's why it's so great for places like Oregon, which are fully mail. So you can look over you can do research, you can look at all the initiatives and ballot measures, and you can research all the people on the ballot. I think that's great. I mean, people definitely have a sentimental attachment and an excitement like day of, but I don't think it's...
I just wanted the sticker.
I'd thought about doing early voting because they had that available for, I think, 2 weeks here. And I opted not to because I wanted to see if there's any bullshit going on at our polling place. Because we are in a neighborhood that has a large refugee population. And so I was concerned. I got to Hawthorne Elementary, and there was a lot of millennials.
Well, manning it. There are a lot of old people voting.
A lot of millennials voting, too.
Oh, good.
Good. Yeah, I was, and everybody was happy and nice, and yeah.
No, I think part of that's because it's a lot harder to be an asshole face to face. I mean, don't get me wrong. I find a way.
There was one lady complaining about a woman's dogs. It was like, really, lady? Of all the things that's going on in the world, you're going to complain about another person's dogs? Let her have her dogs.
Was that our dogs?
No.
No?
I had mine tied up outside.
Oh,
but there was a lady who brought in her service dog.
Oh, okay.
And she's like,
oh, goodness.
You're not supposed to have animals in here. It's like, lady, just go home.
Go home, you're not drunk yet.
Oh, too true. But Trump definitely got a lot of support from certain demographics.
Yeah, I would say white males, that are generally heterosexual.
And I think what really one of the big turning points in the whole campaign was that last debate, having some guy from Fox News softball him a question about abortion. I think that changed a bunch of people's minds.
I saw one person on Facebook that swayed her.
But still, I mean, early in Trump's run, he was saying that his VP was going to run foreign and the domestic, which pretty much leaves nothing for him to do. Which means Pence is in that seat, and Pence is very anti-abortion, very anti-woman, anti-LGBTQ,
which is why it's kind of a joke on Facebook now. A whole bunch of women telling each other, "Oh, go get your IUDs now." You won't be able to get them. Okay,
there is one silver lining with Pence running things.
He's not running Indiana anymore.
I'm listening.
For many years, we have been having a strengthening of the power of the president's office, either due to Reagan and Bush being assholes grabbing power, or Obama being stuck with a Congress that won't do anything. The power of the presidency has been increasing. Ever since Nixon, it's been increasing every single president. And if we have a president who doesn't do anything, we would actually, for the first time, have the power of the president decreasing.
Wow, way to look at the big picture there.
Which would mean Paul Ryan is running things, and that's terrifying.
Well, Pence is scary enough.
A President Pence or a Prime Minister Ryan? No. Oh, hell no. But, of course, all of the options. President Trump, that's also a hell no. So we're fucked.
Yeah, well, I would say just move to Canada, but their immigration site got crashed. Shortly.
I heard it's been going up and down a lot.
I think a better suggestion might be don't move to Canada, move to a swing state.
Where it matters.
Yeah, where it matters.
How embarrassing would it be to be a Democrat in Pennsylvania right now?
Well,
heartbreaking.
Only embarrassing if you didn't vote or you were a Democrat in Pennsylvania who voted third party.
Well, then you're just a fuckwad. We
Tell
have
me how you really feel.
one friend who voted third party, but in Idaho it doesn't matter.
Oh, it's funny. Jill Stein was on the ballot here as an independent.
Oh, really?
The Green Party isn't a party in Idaho. They've never qualified or registered or done whatever they need to. We have Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, and Constitutionalist.
Oh.
Roughly in that... Yeah, I started with Democrats. So in that order, from middle to as frickin' far right as you can possibly get.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But one thing I did want to hit on is... And you were kind of hinting at this a little bit, Wayne, with the way the system is set up. We have, for the fourth or fifth time, depending on how you count it, the person who won the popular vote losing the Electoral College.
Yeah.
She got gored.
She got gored for the second time in 16 years.
And what's interesting with it is, so we can blame the Founding Fathers for the stupid system that gives tiny little states like Idaho more say than they should have. But the reason why they set that up is because they knew the American people couldn't be trusted with picking a president.
Because America!
And
well, I mean,
we've bastardized the system.
Well, a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky animals.
I think it's twofold. One, obviously, it's part of the larger compromise, so people from smaller states feel important, which ironically they don't necessarily. It still comes down to about a handful of quote unquote swing states at this point. Like, did you guys have a lot of presidential visits in Idaho for all your guys, like 6 electorals or something?
We had Cruz came to Idaho and Sanders came to Idaho during the primary.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we got.
Sanders hit Washington State hard, and Hillary came out a couple times, but for like private fundraising.
Right.
I don't think she really did anything big in public.
So she was just getting money from billionaires in Seattle.
Yeah, donors.
Yeah.
And I think the second part is the representation of small states. And then also it does make it so you have a definitive clear winner with big numbers. Because like right now it's like 279 to 228. And that makes everyone feel a lot better than like 50.1%, which I think is what Clinton has at this point, to like 49.9%. And then that would trigger like recounts, and it would just take forever. So,
but would be handy.
It's also like pulling off a Band-Aid.
But would be easier if it was just straight popular vote. Is if you had recounts where?
Well, I think it's already like before when people are like, oh, corrupt, rigged. All the voting already happens at a county level. And it'd be like in 2000, which I don't remember particularly well.
I don't remember any politician.
Being in a compound, but you'll just sit there for weeks and weeks with chads and going over absentee ballots and what.
Florida.
Because it gets real lawyery. It turns into a full contact sport and things are thrown out and.
No, this is the first time I'm young. I'm a millennial, so I don't have a whole lot of presidential stuff under my belt. But this is definitely the first time I've heard somebody complain so much that the system is rigged. Is that normal?
Oh yeah, because I don't remember.
We're all about
at least not in public. Yeah. Dustin's like, we're all old. I'm not a weird old guy who married an 18-year-old.
Lauren is.
I mean, Trump was talking
studied
about
this stuff more than I have.
Trump was talking a lot about this election was going to be rigged, and he wasn't going to trust the results for a long time. Also, but then
Unless
he
they
won.
went his
So
way.
yeah. So obviously it's not fucking rigged, or at least not rigged well, because he won.
Bloomberg actually put out a funny video talking about all the pieces to rig an election. You would have to have so many moving pieces and people, and just, I mean, how do you vote multiple times if you have to stand in line for 6 hours and then you get back up and try to recheck in and they're like, no, I just saw you 4 hours ago as someone else. And all that effort would be for 2 votes. And granted, in some places, like I think in New Hampshire, the Senate race was determined by less than 900 votes. But when you're in somewhere else, like in California, what's the point?
Well, and if we did do straight popular vote, if 1,000 people voted twice out of 100 million, that's nothing.
That's actually laughable.
I think the irony is of all the reports, and once again, I'm probably biased in my confirmation bias and news sources. All the reports of voter fraud I saw were Trump supporters. So
Yeah.
they're
He
trying to
even
vote
looked at his
twice.
own wife's ballot to make sure she was voting correctly. I mean, the guy
I
just
saw the
doesn't
picture
trust
where-
anybody.
All right. Well, we do need to take a break. So, yeah. At the rate this is going, this will be the only break.
Atheist Nomads is proudly brought to you by Archway Hosting. Check out their low-price, full-featured hosting solutions at archwayhosting.com. That's ARCHWAY hosting.com.
Hey, we're also brought to you by listeners just like you. Find out how you can become a patron at patreon.com/atheist nomads. That's patreon.com/atheist nomads.
All right.
We're back.
All right, and people were wanting a rant, so I do have a bit of ranting to do. We are seriously fucked. We have Trump is going to get to fill at least 1 Supreme Court seat, likely 3.
I feel bad for Ruth Ginsburg.
He has the House and Senate, and the Democrats, yes, they picked up seats, but are still a minority in the Senate, which means the only thing saving us from pandemonium is their filibuster.
Pandemonium? Sounds like pandas.
Angry, violent, rapey pandas.
Oh, okay.
Trumpemonium.
In
We'll call it.
slow motion.
Yeah. And so some of the effects, realistically, if Democrats grow a fucking backbone already, then
Not likely.
we have a shot in 2 years of taking the House and Senate, which would then mean having, and if we got some state governments too, a chance to fix some of the insane gerrymandering that's going on, or that has been going on, that will only get worse. But the Supreme Court, we're going to be stuck with that for decades. Those are lifetime appointments.
Yeah.
And I don't want to rain on. I don't want to add any starter fluid to your fire, but the numbers are not great going into 18. The reason why everyone was so hopeful for the Senate flipping this go around was because of the seats in the states. Democrats are actually defending a larger number of seats in the next cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. Election 2018 started this morning.
Yes.
So they'll be defending more seats, and I'd have to look at it, but it's just going to be a tougher slog. Even though at this point, I think traditionally, apart from I believe a W in 06, in 2002, the incumbent party usually loses the House just because that's the way the American people cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's in part why Hillary lost, in addition to other reasons and ingrained gender sexism in our society. But that's a larger discussion. I think if you look at the broader political trends, the White House has only been held by the same party for 3 terms a handful of times. So
yeah.
Sorry. Back to your rant.
No,
I'll keep my damn dirty
point.
facts to myself.
It's okay. So yeah, it could be bleaker than it looks. And running away to Canada. Okay, for one, they
New
don't
Zealand.
want the Canadians don't want us.
New Zealand.
If anything, they might build a wall and make Trump pay for it. They'd probably even let him put his name on it, the Trump wall, because Canada can't take 50 million Americans. That's more than they have people. New Zealand is a tiny, tiny little country that is across a whole lot of watery death.
They have cute birds.
So, no, running away, they don't want us. There are too many of us. We have shit in our own bed and have to deal with it.
No, I say we just break it into about 6 different countries. Let's just break up the United States. All the liberals can go on one side and all the conservatives can go on the other, and they can do their...
We've already done that.
Well, except for we've got 2 coasts and the Midwest split, and we need to get the coastal... One coast or the other, people. You got to choose.
I honestly, I don't think it's time to give up on the Union.
We had that fight.
It might be, but I don't think it is time for that.
Dude, we just elected Trump.
Okay, what is terrifying, though, is if we were to, could you imagine what they could do in the South without the West Coast and the Northeast keeping them in check?
Screw it. Let them burn.
We have friends there. There are innocent
They better
people.
move.
Although I think it's easy to say move when you're of moderate means, but I think unfortunately there's a lot of people. This comes up a lot, and as a DC resident, which is tax without representation, people like, you knew what you got when you moved there. Well, that's true. If I was this upstart college kid, but there's a whole other population that lives in DC, has for generations, and is not. I mean, moving's expensive, as I am discovering.
Yes, it is. So you can't just say, if you don't like it, move. It's like, no, you can't just do that.
Yeah. But I would suggest, rather than, get angry and stay angry, but stay engaged. I think
stay in school.
Stay in school.
That really is the biggest thing, though. Yeah. If we all give up.
Oh, I thought you meant the stay in school part. I was like, what?
No. If we all give up, then it's over.
We never give up,
you can
though.
look at it that way. I think someone said, just this is how cycle things. If you truly believe in the famous quote that justice bends toward, justice arcs forward, or I just fucked that all up. But you know what I'm saying.
There's an arc involved. Swinging.
If you want shit, if shit gets better, you gotta get dirty. I mean, it's people. The large portion of this country, I guess, didn't like President Obama. And this is what we got. So now maybe the other half of the country will get re-engaged, and we'll get President Neil deGrasse Tyson or something wonderful out of it.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
With Vice President Bill Nye or something.
It needs to happen. Also, eventually, baby boomers will die.
I've got a couple of baby boomer friends who even admitted that, we started out great, fighting for civil rights and the EPA, and then we dropped the ball.
Your mom was one of those, yeah.
And now it's
EPA,
up to...
shit, Nixon did that.
Well, that's what So the civil rights movement and the whole movement try to get shit done, and then they didn't. And instead they try to deregulate everything.
Yeah.
Well, my mom used to, she used to describe to me as politics being a pendulum where it swings left and right. And you don't stay very far on one side before it swings over to the other. I'm like, great. So we swung, we swung right where we have Bush, and then we swung left, kind of stopped in the center with Obama, and now we're swinging right again? And she's like, okay, it's not a perfect metaphor.
Actually, that metaphor's been broken since Reagan. Actually, no, since
Reagan.
Nixon. Nixon was right. Then you had Ford. Then you had Carter, who was still a conservative, maybe moderate.
Definitely moderate.
It wasn't until Clinton, who was also a moderate. Yeah, it's been moderate or right for a long-ass time.
I think it's just important then to really, and we kind of touched on it. I think if you want to make a change, you have to get engaged locally. Because when you don't have as much as Jill Stein kind of left vote would be for president, may make you feel good, it's not going to make a bit of difference. I think you have to get involved with like building a base and local level things and city councils and school boards and mayors and state representatives, because I think that's another little like pop in the gut. While we're all busy talking about the president and the Senate, I think Republicans control upwards of over 30 governorships, and Dems have like 15. Yeah. And then you're going to get Kansas and Idaho and and Texas, where you have to, where things just aren't great. As Jefferson said, the state of laboratories of democracy, and right now they're making a lot of fart balloons.
Well, that's something that.
But on the
Bernie's
other side,
been
you can also
working
have
on since
places
he dropped out. Trying to get people involved at the grassroots level, like you're saying, school boards and all that. Man, yeah, we need to self-correct, get this back to the left a lot.
Yeah, because you have cities like Seattle, which have a lot of great left of center, strong female voices on their school board or on their city council, and they've like raised minimum wage to 15. They've rejected giving payouts to, like they rejected the basketball kind of like billionaires getting money to build a stadium that they make money from, and you're left with debt, and just kind of those like ground level things showing people that Seattle's not on fire because people are paid a wage that make it so they don't have to work 4 jobs to live in like.
Not on fire, just on the edge of a tsunami.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we want to move, basically.
Well, and I moved here from the Seattle area, so getting back would be nice. I moved here for work, and
I would risk the fiery death of a volcano versus live in Idaho much longer.
Well, I mean, that super volcano is just going to screw the whole West Coast, so at least if you're in Washington, you'll die faster than Idaho, where you'll just die from all the ash.
No, the super volcano is closer to us.
Is it close? Isn't it? Yeah. Oh, Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Yellowstone's the really big bad one.
But I thought the whole point was to like cover 4 states.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Yellowstone. It would.
But in Seattle, you guys are going to get this super earthquake.
Yeah, Seattle's the big earthquake.
It's just going to rip asunder the whole.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest.
Ooh, but asunder. Good word.
Most people will survive that. Yes, it will suck, but you'll survive. Yellowstone, if you're in Idaho, you're dead, like, instantly. You'd have, like, 15 minutes warning before you burn to a crisp.
It'd be actually kind of glorious.
Oh, man.
What a way to go.
Like, I like the joke. That'd be 2 minutes for me and 13 minutes for my wife, so... So that's all I need.
Oh, man. Was there any of the rest of this that we wanted to get to?
Oh, yes, there is. I have lost track of what... Well, I was trying to look up one and I couldn't find it. But some of the local stuff that was important. Oklahoma had a amendment to allow the government to use public money or property to benefit religion and religious institutions. That failed.
Yay!
Oh, good.
We thought you were all backwards there, Oklahoma. Way to go.
Yeah. Muslims end up getting to, and this kind of fits with the white nationalists, alt-right, neo-Nazi assholes, but...
Alt-right, that's a new term for me. So
I first heard that this year.
Was that this year?
Yeah.
Just another name to cover it up?
Yeah.
Idaho's probably full of them.
I think Idaho is alt-right.
Okay.
Yeah. But Muslims, a lot of Muslims were facing a lot of hate at the polls, enough that it got its own hashtag. Hashtag Islamophobia.
They don't just give hashtags to anything.
Okay, it was a hashtag that was trending well.
Yeah.
That takes some doing. But, stuff like standing in line to vote, this woman getting asked how long she's going to be staying in our country. One woman, while in line at the poll, "Are you from India?" "No, I'm from here." "Oh, so what's that thing?" Points at hijab.
Jeez.
Sure.
Are you from India?
That's when you ask that person, "Is your name Tina? Because you're wearing a T around your neck."
Yes, a lowercase t.
In Texas, there was a Muslim couple turned away from voting because they didn't have their IDs.
Well, they wanted my ID. I was able to have it, though.
So, okay, in Idaho, and I have verified this several times, with the poll workers, quizzed them on it. There is an option if you don't have ID. You can fill out a affidavit of your identity.
If you can read.
If you can't read, someone can read it to you and help you fill it out.
Oh, that's nice.
If not, then you can call the people and they will make sure that happens. For some other... Michele Bachmann, of course, she's crazy. She was with David Barton on Kenneth Copeland Ministries' America Stands, election coverage in the spirit of faith.
I just threw out
that broadcast on Daystar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this included...
Succinct.
This was a like all-night streamathon they were doing, plus...
bake sale?
A little bit of time on Daystar television. And Bachmann gave God credit for the election, and specifically their airing of it on Daystar. They had a prayer room available, and right when they went live, the projections as to who was going to win, the lines crossed, and Trump started going into the lead.
Yep.
That does it for me. God is real. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I can't do the show anymore.
God is a and we just elected the Antichrist.
God is a racist, bigot asshole.
Oh, crap. He is. So
he really, yeah.
He really is.
If you're a literal translation kind of guy. I want to throw another fun fact in there because I looked it up.
Good for you.
That evangelicals actually supported Trump 81%, which is actually a couple points above GW, who only got 78%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could argue many things, I think, but I don't think you could argue that George W. Bush's faith was insincere. While I feel like you could very much argue that
Trump's is
less so.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a joke for 6 months. A long-running joke.
Yeah, his favorite book of the Bible is Corinthians 2.
Which took me a long time to figure out that joke.
Which it's actually impressive that he knew to call it Corinthians.
Well, whatever.
But yeah, the evangelicals going for Trump, they didn't used to be like that. Like, Adventists not too long ago were pretty liberal, and now they're mostly conservative.
It's the abortion issue. I think it's a single issue thing. It has
Yeah.
become
much.
so...
If you're religious, you must be
you have,
anti-abortion.
Yeah. Yeah, and this misunderstanding of what abortions are. The fact that Trump obviously has no idea what a typical abortion is.
Yeah.
That's just permeated throughout the entire culture, and it's just... Ugh. If you're going to start a civil war over something, that's going to be it, and it's stupid.
And it should at least be over something that's based on a proper understanding of the facts and what's going on.
No. We like pitchforks and torches.
Because there are actually plenty of facts to start a civil war over. Most of it comes down to personal values about those facts, or surrounding what you do with those facts, but... man.
And whether if a hot dog is a sandwich.
Ah!
Sorry, all my internet quips are like 6 months old. So
No, that's okay. Anything Hodgman related is welcome on this podcast.
What was awesome was Hodgman actually got schooled by his Merriam-Webster's dictionary lexicographer friend.
Right, an actual co-author of the dictionary.
Yeah, who had to do a opinion piece on is a hot dog a sandwich, and she did her full research on it and had ruled that yes, a hot dog is a sandwich. The earliest references all referred to it as a hot dog sandwich.
Huh.
It has usually fallen in the sandwich section on menus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just love it.
And the standard definition of a sandwich is meat on a roll or between slices of bread. And a hot
Funny,
dog
that sounds
bun.
like a Catholic priest and a little boy to me.
Boo.
Oh, speaking of Catholics,
See?
the October 16 bulletin for the Immaculate Conception Catholic Church in San Diego had an insert in both English and Spanish on how to vote like a Catholic. And this included the line that said, "It is a mortal sin to vote Democrat. Immediate after death, the souls of those who die in a state of mortal sin descend into hell."
That's okay. You just have to ask the priest for forgiveness and you're good.
On your knees.
On your knees. Dirty.
Yeah, sucking on his hot dog.
It's a sandwich.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a sandwich. All right, fine.
Priest sandwich. That's even worse.
Yeah. Oh, gross.
I would not order that.
So this guy's never heard of a 501c3. Okay.
Nope.
I believe that's. I mean, you can tell somebody to vote like Republican or not vote Democrat. I mean, that still sounds like it's breaching that
that's
barrier.
Breaking the rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, nothing's gonna happen though.
No, especially
just
not
like usual.
with Trump as president. The IRS hasn't been doing its job. They're not going to start now.
Yeah.
Oh, and Newt Gingrich, who we recently covered, saying that pastors need to run for office and preach their political values and beliefs and basically politic from the pulpit, is rumored to be our next Secretary of State.
Newt Gingrich?
Uh-huh.
God, isn't he like 104?
No, he's probably close to Trump's age. So
Probably 70s.
late 60s, early 70s.
I'm thinking of
yeah.
somebody who's ancient. No, well.
Yeah. For ex-gay therapy, the Alliance for Therapeutic Choice and Scientific Integrity, a group that has absolutely nothing to do with therapy, science, or integrity, and apparently don't know the meaning of words, now want practitioners of ex-gay conversion therapy to use the name Sexual Attraction Fluidity Exploration in Therapy, or SAFE-T.
Sexual attraction, fluidity, exploration, and therapy actually sounds like a lot of fun.
That would be the type of...
If you understood what the words meant.
Right. Yeah, if that...
It's like, ooh, let's do some exploration in quote-unquote therapy.
That would if you
no, it's still reparative therapy. it's still the nastiness that they've been doing to gay people.
Yeah, no, I know,
years.
but it would be
That
fun if
is.
it was just a dom, sub-dom club or something.
well, but if you just look at what the words mean,
There's
and if
easier ways to find that.
if you were to apply them literally, you would expect that it would be a case for somebody who is confused about their sexuality to go talk to a therapist and have sexual surrogates to explore with.
Yeah, sexy safety. But instead, it's just people being tortured.
Yeah. Ah, fuck.
Very Orwellian language.
For happy news, Pop Wed Company in Washington, D.C. helps couples plan small weddings. And they just recently announced the opening of their new Humanist wedding chapel.
Aww,
It's awfully cute, too.
it is cute. It's colorful. Oh, well, that's
Very
nice.
trendy.
And for those of us who are looking for some kind of silver lining in this terrible presidency that is to come, well, all I have to do is not be in earth sciences. If you are... Trump has shown over and over that he is for space exploration, wants to get people out there, but he's also like the only leader in the world at this point who denies climate change. And a lot of NASA's funding has been going to support the foundations of climate change. Sea levels rising, temperatures changing. They're probably going to lose a lot of their funding for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, NASA hasn't been exploring out into space. They've been turning their cameras and everything back into the Earth and looking into this themselves.
Well,
yeah.
They've been continuing
climate
to explore outer space.
Well, yeah, they have been.
but they've been focusing a lot more on Earth than they have in past years.
Yeah, so while there's this
Earth's
one...
cheaper.
Yes.
There's also a problem, though, because Trump has been talking about his potential EPA pick for a while.
Yeah.
Which is Myron Ebell, who is as the scientificamerican.com puts it, a climate skeptic. I would just simply call him a climate change denier.
That's the new
that's
AP
what the fuck he
recommendation.
is.
Climate change
Almost
denier?
every article I see calls him a climate skeptic. He's not a skeptic, he's a denier.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the end of climate change studies in the United States. But hopefully some of that funding will be diverted over to space exploration, and that might come up with some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of NASA, definitely.
That's assuming that
Trump fulfills all of his campaign promises.
right. Well, that he fulfills all of his campaign promises, and Paul Ryan actually lets him have a budget to do it.
Wouldn't
Paul
that be
Ryan.
funny? Wouldn't that be funny if the Republicans won't give him a budget?
Oh man, I can picture it.
I mean, I could use a couple days off of work. This would be great.
Yeah, but you like getting a paycheck.
Oh yeah, well they always pay us federal workers after, so hey, it's all good.
I'd just be careful, because what's happened before isn't necessarily what's going to happen again.
Yeah,
True,
that's
true.
definitely true.
And we all know that Trump loves to say, "You're fired."
But what Republicans have a tendency to do, at least in recent years, is if they are in the White House, deficits spend like crazy, and if they aren't, demand to balance the budget. So we have no idea what to expect.
On the plus side, we still have about 6 months until even the fastest policies actually touch anybody.
Yep. At least.
So the wheels of government turn awfully slow. So we got a little bit of time.
The wheels of the government turn awfully slow.
I think just from a pure disaffected observation, it'll be very fascinating to see what our the first, what are the priority bills of a new Congress and administration? Because I think you get a lot of what is their agenda and goal? Because when you look back, when Democrats controlled everything in 2008, their priority was a healthcare system.
I think that will be it again.
Yeah, they have to undo all that damage that the damn Democrats did.
Yeah. But I remember when everything flipped, I believe in 14 or 10, the first, despite all the, because everyone gets elected on economy, like we're going to get your jobs and we're going to do this and that and the other. But the first bill that goes up are inevitably like anti-choice kind of thing. So that'll be interesting. Although it's going to be morbidly fascinating just from what is his priority, because there's been so much lack of specifics.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean,
it's a certain vagueness about him.
Yeah, campaigns are great. Governing is hard.
That's why he has Pence.
You can't make it. You can't make it.
Yeah, for the foreign and domestic.
Yes.
Oh man. All right. We are actually about out of time, so we should probably get to some feedback. And Wayne, if you're willing to stay on after the end for some more chatting for our patrons, getting to know a little bit more about you, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
All right. So,
awesome.
Feedback. We've got Pat Miller. Should have gone full Waco on those Cretans day one. Next time, fucking drone strike the terrorist Vernum. That was about the Bundys.
I was going to say, because depending on how you take that, it could be either awful or awful.
That was the Bundys at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Yeah.
I would say that's the less awful.
Yeah.
Just a tad.
I don't know. I have a problem with drone striking anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Just send it in the tanks.
There we go. Oh, that would be so much more fun.
Grand Theft Auto.
I just think
Grand Theft Auto them.
The problem becomes setting any kind of precedent for government intervention on that level.
Setting precedent.
Because obviously, obviously, right now the problem I think is people like the Bundys would never get fired on, but if you start that precedent, someone with a more just cause, in my opinion, could then
like Native Americans trying to protect their water.
Exactly.
Well, as far as the Bundys go, I mean, I have a feeling if you just mounted GoPros on the tanks, you know, and then just like put this on pay-per-view, people would be okay with that.
Oh wow,
that's a Twitter hashtag for sure.
Let's see if it trends.
What's funny is we got feedback on almost every story we covered last week.
Cool, keep it up.
So from D at Sidlone, Sidlone, at Atheist Nomads, regarding hanging skeletons at Halloween being a tad judgmental. Hanging one on MLK Day? No. Halloween? Sure. Don't get hung up on hang-ups.
I love that last part. That made me happy.
In general, I would totally be right there with you if it's just a skeleton. But when they're dressed up as, if you want to use the term urban, which is what they use in the article, or
I think everybody would agree that was probably a no-go, but we were arguing about a little bit about the skeletons that were hanging on a neighbor's tree, and Dustin thought that was a little uncouth.
What I said is in bad taste, and bad taste is a statement of personal opinion on it. If you hang a skeleton from a tree on Halloween, I'm not going to think you're a racist. I might think but yeah, I'm still going to think it's in bad taste. Now, hang it from anything but a tree. That's probably okay. You know, skeletons in your window.
How it dragged along the back of a truck.
That would probably be bad.
You challenged. I had to answer that challenge.
But yeah, just Don't hang skeletons from trees. No. From Peter.
I'm just thinking about the. Okay, yeah, let's let that go. Yeah,
okay. From the first Peter, we got feedback from at PETJONVIL at Atheist Nomads. We were shown Carl Sagan's Cosmos in 3rd grade in public school in Silicon Valley back in 1980. You guys got screwed.
Jeez, and how? Silicon Valley. You're so fancy down there with your silicon.
Wasn't Silicon Valley back in the 80s?
Yeah.
I don't want to fact check anyone, but
Google it.
I mean, the companies were way different, but yeah.
Yeah, in the 60s, my dad worked for a machine shop that's now a part of HP.
Mm-hmm.
That was like right before HP was getting founded. But Hewlett and Packard bought the company that bought the machine shop that he worked at. But we definitely got screwed. And it sucks that it was about as bad in public schools as it was at Adventist schools.
I like the idea of showing kids Cosmos, though. I think that either one or both. I think that's good quality education.
And from Peter Zopf, that's at Peter_Zopf, ZOPF. At Atheist Nomads, you may want to read this article on the subject of male contraceptive. Greetings from Germany.
Okay, so we can't... Okay.
And send pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
he did.
Not of the male contraception,
he sent pictures
of Germany.
He sent pictures before.
Yeah.
I kind of went on a rant last week about this. I was upset about the whole... Well, we have to deal with it, so why can't you guys deal with it? When that's totally the wrong approach. Definitely need to improve current medications that are out there, because not everybody has the ability to just choose the best birth control that's available. To those who can, that's awesome. But for most of us, we're stuck with the generic or whatever the insurance is willing to pay on. So, and sometimes the side effects of those suck.
Well, I got to go through some of the a medication change with Lauren, where I got to see the process, where first one is the cheapest, crappiest generic in its class. And does it work? No. Its side effects are terrible. Okay, now let's try the second cheapest crap. Does that one work?
We need to just wipe out all of those bad side effect ones and make insurances pay for the nice ones. And then I wouldn't be so upset about it. Or maybe it's just because...
You got to figure it's cheaper to pay for birth control than it is to pay for child care.
So much cheaper.
For like an insurance company. Like, I'd rather have a bill than have to pay for your pediatric bill.
Yeah.
Or the more expensive part's the birth.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that could be $30,000 if you got a freaking C-section that goes bad. I mean, nah, you just gotta give girls their IUDs and just let them go at it.
And with the male contraceptive, yeah, I did more reading after
I sprung that article on these guys literally like 30 seconds before we were supposed to start the show. So it was like, hey, look at this.
That is true.
And then and of course, Dustin sat there and started reading it thoroughly, and Wesley and I are like tapping on our watches. Like, come on, Dustin, don't be skeptical and thorough.
The part I got stuck on with it was, what are the side... They keep mentioning mood changes and mood disorders, and I wanted to know what were those. And so this article that Peter sent us, we'll have it linked to in the show notes. It sounded a lot more like the changes were, at least several of them were on the rage side.
Aggression.
And
don't mess with the guy's aggression.
Brings up safety concerns for their partners, because everyone in this study was partnered.
But I don't recall them saying which way their emotions were going. Just that they had emotional issues.
What we had available in that of the study was the poorly written and vague press release.
Totally.
several.
Others did get a bit more detailed information.
Apparently, if you were outside of the United States, you got some better headlines than we get, but we weren't thorough enough. It was just...
Yeah, most of what we were seeing, other than the study itself, which was way too... Or the report itself that we saw, which was way too vague, it was just a bunch of people being judgmental. When it wasn't the guys who made the decision to drop out, it was the Institutional Review Board decided to cancel it because it wasn't safe.
Fair enough.
We should trust those experts. And no new iTunes reviews or new patrons.
Oh, no.
So thank you for listening, Wayne. Thank you so much for joining us. We will continue.
My pleasure.
For patrons, but for the normal show, thank you so much. Remember, not all those who wander are lost. We love hearing from our listeners. You can email us at contact@atheistnomads.com, tweet us @atheistnomads, send us a message on our Facebook page at facebook.com/atheistnomads, or better yet, call us and leave us a message at 541-203-0666. We might even play it on the show. You can also help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcast directory of choice.